How many times have you walked into a room and felt like your voice didn't matter? How often have you burned inside, knowing you had value, but still melted into the background because your habits whispered weakness before you ever spoke? When you live to be overlooked, you fear being too much, so you end up being nothing at all. But here's the truth. Invisibility isn't your destiny. It's a pattern you've trained. And once you see it, you can break it. Every room has a hierarchy, whether you notice it or not. The powerful aren't scanning the crowd. They're locking onto the few who radiate presence. And while their eyes are drawn to strength, they become blind to the ones who quietly erase themselves. If you've ever felt that sting of being unseen, you know it isn't just about silence. It's about the subtle ways you shrink, the unconscious signals that betray you before you've even spoken. But that can change. Presence isn't reserved for the chosen few. It's built through clarity, discipline, and the quiet courage to stand in your own gravity. The Stoics called it virtue, a strength of character that commands respect without ever needing to beg for it. If you're ready to stop fading into the background and start shaping the way you're seen, consider subscribing. Not for me, but as a commitment to yourself. Because growth is never handed out. It's chosen. And the moment you choose it, you step out of invisibility and into power. Habit 1. Entering rooms with energy turned inward. Sometimes the smallest details carry the heaviest weight. Think about the times you've entered a room and almost without realizing it, your body folded inward. Your eyes stayed low, your shoulders rounded, your steps quiet. It wasn't that you were trying to disappear, but that you were unconsciously signaling to everyone around you, I don't want to take up space here. And in that instant, people treated you the way you asked to be treated, by overlooking you. It's not cruelty, it's instinct. People notice the ones who project energy outward. They feel the presence of someone who arrives as if they belong. This isn't about arrogance or forcing yourself into the spotlight. It's about carrying yourself with the certainty that your existence already holds value. As Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one in the same way. Waste no more time doubting if you deserve to be seen. Step into rooms like someone who doesn't need convincing, because confidence isn't something you ask for, it's something you radiate. When a powerful person enters, their energy doesn't collapse. It expands. They scan their surroundings with calm steadiness, their presence filling the air like invisible gravity. That energy sets a tone before they've even spoken a word. People shift, glance up, adjust themselves, not because the person demanded it, but because they projected certainty. When you walk in with your energy turned inward, the opposite happens. You shrink, and the room adjusts accordingly by dismissing you. That's the quiet danger of this habit. It robs you of influence before you've had a chance to say anything. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Carrying your energy outward is not pretending to be someone else. It's letting your true self occupy space without apology. Presence isn't loudness. It isn't showmanship. It's a posture, a way of holding yourself, a way of meeting the eyes of others that says, I belong here as much as anyone. Imagine walking into a gathering with your back straight, your shoulders open, your chin level, and your gaze moving slowly across the room, not searching nervously, but scanning with quiet ownership. People feel that. They respond differently. Not because you said something profound, but because you were something solid. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most people enter spaces carrying imagined judgments, convinced others are ready to mock or reject them. In truth, people aren't watching closely enough to condemn you. They're simply reacting to the signals you give. If you radiate nervous invisibility, they'll accept it. If you radiate calm certainty, they'll respect it. Think about how you naturally respond to others. Someone shuffles into a room, head down, body folded, and you barely register them. Another person enters upright, grounded, scanning with quiet confidence, and you take notice even before they've spoken. That's not magic, it's psychology. Humans are wired to respond to signals of strength and certainty. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery begins in those subtle choices, lifting your shoulders instead of letting them collapse, letting your gaze meet the room instead of retreating into the ground. These are not dramatic gestures, but small acts of mastery that free you from the prison of invisibility. The danger of walking in with energy turned inward is that it becomes habit. Over time, it shapes how others see you and even how you see yourself. You start believing that you're naturally someone who doesn't get noticed, someone who belongs in the background. But that's not truth, that's training. You've practiced being small so often that it feels natural. The way out isn't to overcompensate with loudness or forced bravado. The way out is steadiness. Aristotle once noted, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. In the same way, presence is not a gift, it's a habit. Each time you walk into a room with openness instead of collapse, you're training your body and your mind to believe in your worth. Practical change starts small. Next time you step through a doorway, pause for a brief second. Plant your feet firmly, straighten your posture, let your eyes sweep the space. Breathe slowly. This tiny ritual shifts your energy outward instead of inward. You don't have to speak first. You don't have to dominate the room. You just have to let your body signal, "I am here and I carry weight." If you've lived much of your life walking in with folded energy, this shift may feel uncomfortable at first. But remember, comfort has never been the path to growth. Jung believed that what we need most is often found in the places we least want to look. If you resist the discomfort of showing up differently, you also resist the transformation it offers. The Stoics didn't fear discomfort. They welcomed it as the training ground of resilience. To walk into a room as if you belong is not arrogance. It's Stoic discipline. It's the practice of living aligned with the truth that your presence matters. So the next time you cross that threshold, don't let your energy collapse inward. Don't let your body whisper weakness. Straighten. Breathe. Let your awareness expand outward. Claim space without needing permission. You don't do this for show. You do it because presence is not about being seen by others. It's about seeing yourself clearly first. And when you finally carry yourself with that kind of certainty, people notice. They have no choice but to. Habit 2. Speaking with apology in your tone. There's a certain kind of silence that carries more weight than 1,000 words. You've probably felt it before. Someone says a sentence, ends it firmly, and then lets the stillness do the work. The words hang in the air, undeniable, leaving you no choice but to consider them. That kind of presence doesn't come from fancy language or clever phrasing. It comes from conviction, from a voice that doesn't tremble or trail off, from tone that doesn't beg for approval. Now think of the opposite, the moments when you've spoken with strength in your words, but weakness in your delivery. Your tone rose like a question instead of a statement. You added little apologies, unnecessary sorries, or nervous fillers. Without meaning to, you told the world, "I'm not sure I have the right to say this." And people believed you. This is the danger of speaking with apology in your tone. The actual words might be solid, even powerful, but the delivery dilutes everything. It's like pouring fine wine into a cracked cup. It leaks out before anyone can taste its richness. The Stoics were very aware of this. They taught that your speech should mirror your character, steady, calm, rooted in discipline. Epictetus once said, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." That advice is timeless. Know what you mean, believe what you say, and let your tone carry the weight of that belief. If your voice falters, people will listen less to the content and more to the insecurity beneath it. Tone is not just about sound, it's about presence. Imagine being in a meeting where someone dominates the room without ever raising their volume. Their words are simple, maybe even few, but their voice is low, steady, and unshaken. That tone demands attention, not because it shouts, but because it's anchored. Compare that to someone who speaks with rushed sentences, words tumbling over each other, their voice rising as if seeking confirmation. It doesn't matter how brilliant their ideas are, listeners tune out. Presence evaporates when tone sounds like a plea instead of a declaration. Carl Jung once noted, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." In communication, you are not just the meaning of your words, you are the tone that delivers them. Here's where it gets personal. Many of us slip into apologetic tone without noticing. Maybe you soften your statements at work because you don't want to seem pushy. Maybe you trail off when disagreeing with a friend because you fear conflict. Maybe you say sorry at the start of a sentence, even when you've done nothing wrong. These habits don't just weaken your speech, they weaken how people see you. Over time, others begin to place you in the category of someone who can be overlooked, someone who doesn't believe in their own voice. Seneca warned us, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much time is wasted on words spoken without conviction, evaporating into the air because the tones strip them of their power? Training your voice is less about theatrics and more about awareness. Notice the endings of your sentences. Do they rise like a question? Do they fade away instead of landing firm? Start practicing short statements with a flat, calm ending. "I agree. That doesn't work. This is my view." Say them slowly, without rushing, without softening, and without adding fillers. Silence is your ally here. End your sentence, pause, and let the stillness underline your words. Aristotle once said, "Character may almost be called the most effective means of persuasion." Tone reveals character more than content does. When your voice carries calm finality, you show character, you show steadiness, you show someone who doesn't need approval to speak truth. There's another layer to this, emotional control. Often an apologetic tone sneaks in because of nerves or fear of judgment. You want to smooth things over, to keep everyone comfortable, to avoid standing out too much. But the cost of comfort is invisibility. The Stoics believed that external reactions should never shake your inner steadiness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice how simple that is. No decoration, no begging, no softening, just clarity and conviction. Your speech should echo that simplicity. Clear, true, delivered with certainty, then left to stand on its own. Let's make it concrete. Picture two people giving the same answer in a classroom. One says, "I think, maybe the answer is B. Sorry if that's wrong." The other says, "The answer is B." Same content, completely different impact. One invites dismissal, the other commands respect. And the difference is not intelligence, it's tone. People often confuse humility with apology, but they're not the same. True humility is being grounded enough to speak without arrogance. Apology in tone is being uncertain enough to weaken your own message before it's even challenged. Plato once observed, "The beginning is the most important part of the work." The beginning of your sentences, how your tone lands, shapes everything that follows. Breaking this habit doesn't mean becoming harsh or domineering. It means becoming deliberate. Choose your words with care, deliver them with calm weight, and resist the urge to pad them with apologies. Your voice should not chase acceptance. It should stand firm, even if others disagree. The beauty of this approach is that people respect it, even when they don't like what you've said. They may challenge your opinion, but they'll remember it. They may push back, but they won't dismiss you. And that's the difference between being heard and being forgotten. The challenge is to practice until it becomes natural. It may feel strange at first to cut out the fillers, to let silence follow your sentences, to lower your tone instead of raising it. But over time, your body adapts. Your mind follows. You start to realize that you don't need to soften everything you say. You don't need to apologize for existing in the conversation. The voice inside you learns to carry itself with calm strength, and that strength changes not just how others hear you, but how you hear yourself. Ask yourself, how many of your words have been lost to an apologetic tone? How often have you diluted your own presence because you let insecurity sneak into your delivery? It's not enough to know what you want to say. You must also train how you say it, because in the end, words alone don't carry power. Conviction does. Tone does. And when your tone no longer asks for permission, when it no longer apologizes for speaking, something shifts. People stop tuning you out. They start leaning in. Habit 3. Laughing too easily. There's a strange thing about laughter. It can build bridges, but it can also build cages. Think about the moments where you've laughed, not because something was truly funny, but because you felt you had to. Someone made a cutting remark at your expense, or a superior tossed out a sarcastic jab, and instead of holding your ground, you let out a nervous chuckle. Maybe you did it to smooth the tension. Maybe you did it to avoid conflict. But in that moment, your laugh didn't protect you. It gave you away. It told the other person, I'll bend to keep this easy, even at the cost of myself. And once you've done that, you've handed over control. Laughter, when genuine, is a powerful signal. It shows connection, confidence, and ease. But when it's nervous or automatic, it signals the opposite, insecurity and a need for approval. Powerful people recognize this instantly. They may even test it on purpose. They'll say something risky, maybe even disrespectful, and then watch you. Do you smirk nervously to stay in their good graces? Do you chuckle even when the words cut you down? If you do, they've learned something about you, that you value acceptance more than self-respect. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Nervous laughter is the opposite of that. It's the refusal to accept yourself fully, the choice to mask discomfort instead of meeting it directly. The Stoics warned against becoming too reactive to the behavior of others. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When someone makes a sharp comment, your mind is the only battlefield that matters. If you can master your reaction, you retain your presence. If you give it away with an easy laugh, you've surrendered before the fight even began. That doesn't mean you should be cold or humorless. It means your laughter should be deliberate, rooted in choice, not in fear. Think of a time when someone mocked you lightly, perhaps a peer or even a friend. If you laughed along, the moment may have passed without conflict, but did you notice how the dynamic shifted? They felt freer to tease again, the balance tilted, and even if you didn't intend it, you taught them that your dignity was negotiable. On the other hand, imagine responding with silence. Not anger, not defensiveness, just stillness. The air would thicken. The other person would suddenly feel the weight of their own words. That pause forces reflection. It unsettles them. Silence becomes your armor, and they can't quite figure out how to penetrate it. Seneca once said, "A man is as wretched as he has convinced himself that he is." If you constantly laugh at your own expense, you're convincing yourself and everyone around you that you're comfortable being diminished. Over time, you stop needing others to reduce you because you've already done it to yourself. Nervous laughter, repeated enough, trains you into invisibility. The Stoic alternative is restraint, not false seriousness, but deliberate choice. Laugh when it's real. Stay silent when it's not. In that way you keep your dignity intact, and dignity is the soil from which true respect grows. Here's the reality. The people you most want respect from are always reading your signals. They don't need long explanations. They catch the micro-expressions, the nervous chuckles, the instinctive reactions. Those tiny moments are where their judgment is formed. If they see you laugh at an insult, they assume you're harmless. If they see you laugh at something that devalues you, they assume you'll trade your pride for belonging. That's why controlling your laughter matters. Let's make this more vivid. Picture two colleagues in a meeting. One makes a sarcastic remark aimed at the other. The first responds with a forced laugh, head tilted down, signaling, "It's fine, I'll play along." The room registers it. In that moment, the hierarchy is clear. One person stands above, the other shrinks. Now picture the same scenario, but this time the target of the joke doesn't laugh. They don't flare with anger either. They just let the silence sit, eyes steady, body calm. The room feels different now. Everyone senses the weight. The one who made the joke doesn't quite know how to proceed. That's the power of restraint. Stillness unsettles. This doesn't mean you should stop laughing altogether. Genuine laughter is healthy, bonding, and magnetic. Plato once said, "The serious man must not be without humor. What matters is timing." What matters is whether your laugh comes from joy or from insecurity. When it comes from joy, it strengthens you. When it comes from insecurity, it weakens you. People can sense the difference even if they can't explain it. Breaking the habit of nervous laughter starts with awareness. Notice when you laugh and why. Are you laughing because you found something truly funny, or because you felt pressure to respond? Next, practice silence. When someone makes a joke at your expense, resist the urge to fill the air with sound. Let it land. Breathe. Hold your ground. At first, it may feel heavy, even awkward, but that weight is exactly where your presence grows. Over time, others will notice that you're not the kind of person who laughs to belong. You're the kind of person who belongs because you don't need to perform. Aristotle said, "The ideal man bears the accidents of life with dignity and grace." Dignity and grace do not look like nervous laughter. They look like composure. They look like self-respect. They look like someone who knows when to share joy and when to let silence do the speaking. And in the end, that kind of presence doesn't just make you visible, it makes you undeniable. Next time you're tempted to laugh just to smooth the edges of a sharp moment, pause. Ask yourself, is this laughter real or is it surrender? If it's surrender, let it go. Stand still. Let the silence carry your strength. Because when people can't read you, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, they begin to respect you. Habit 4. Over-explaining simple things. There's a strange kind of panic that creeps in when silence follows your words. You speak, someone listens, and then for a brief second, there's nothing. That moment can feel unbearable. And so, to fill the space, you keep talking. You repeat yourself. You add context they didn't ask for. You over-clarify, trying to make sure they get it. But what starts as an attempt to be understood slowly turns into something else, an apology disguised as explanation. You're no longer communicating clearly. You're just proving that you deserve to be heard. And ironically, the more you explain, the less people actually hear. This is what over-explaining really is, a habit born from insecurity, not intelligence. It's not about sharing information, it's about seeking reassurance. At some point, many of us were taught that we had to defend our words, that simply stating something wasn't enough. We had to show our work, explain our intent, and soften the delivery so no one misunderstood us. But this habit, once repeated enough, becomes self-erasing. When you don't trust your own voice to stand on its own, neither will anyone else. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are. And when you speak for too long, looping and layering your ideas, what gets lost is not just the message, it's you." Now, this doesn't mean that detail is your enemy. Clarity matters. But clarity isn't the same as overload. When every sentence needs 5 follow-ups, when every opinion comes with a disclaimer, the effect isn't depth, it's doubt. Stoicism teaches us that discipline is the key to strength. Seneca warned, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." That applies to your speech just as much as it does to your actions. Powerful people don't have time for speeches where sentences chase themselves in circles. They respect those who can express something valuable and then stop. The pause afterward isn't awkward, it's powerful. Think about the last time someone asked you a simple question, something like, "Do you think we should move forward with this?" And instead of saying, "Yes, here's why," you launched into a 5-minute backstory, explained the risks, apologized for your bias, and padded it all with soft language just to avoid sounding too direct. You may have meant well, but the message got lost. And more importantly, the listener tuned out. When people are forced to sift through excess to get to your point, they eventually stop trying. They don't tell you this. They just stop asking for your input altogether.